Oh my word, my heart is like beating out of my chest right now. I've just gotten I've struggled with sleep, clearly, and I've gotten so many questions about sleep and what we're doing to help Max sleep now. And he's sleeping through the night. It's insane. It's just insane. But my heart's just beating through my chest because I feel like the method that we're taking there's just no way in hell that I thought that we would be on this train when I first became a parent, even like way before I got pregnant. And I feel like I've kind of walked the line, really swung between being kind of a crunchy parent. You know, we co-slept. I exclusively breastfeed. I had a water birth. I mean, just super crunchy. But then I also I don't know, we stopped co-sleeping because my body hurt and I just felt like I was touched out and I needed space. So the sleep thing that we've been doing, I'm shaking. It makes me so nervous to talk about. But the only reason that I feel like it's worth sharing what we specifically are doing isn't because what I think what we're doing is like good or bad. I just feel like as a mom, as a parent, there are such strong opinions. I mean, let's not talk about vaccines for sure, but holy hell, they're like just such strong opinions. And it's because it matters. It's because these little people are defenseless and we're supposed to take care of them. We're supposed to trust other people to take care of these little people. And I think it's just that our compassion and our humanity wants to care and wants to give, and sometimes that just comes out in really messed up ways at one another, at like the people who are trying to do the very best that they can. We start, I don't know, throwing stones at each other. So the big wake-up call, I mean, look at me, God, I never shake. The big wake-up call I had was I've been so nervous to talk about thinking about the sleep training that we've been doing because I have people that I'm very close to in my life who are so against this. And the minute that I shared what, I don't know, like how hard it was, I had so many people send messages saying we're going through the same thing, or we're struggling so much, or what you're saying you're doing, it worked for us, it's so hard, but it worked, you know, you're doing the best that you can. And I thought, damn it, we need to treat each other like that more often. Just saying, you know, I recognize that you are doing the best that you can, the best that you can. So I want to share what we've done, but first I'll just give you a tiny timeline. So Max is 6, oh my God, he's almost 7 months old now. And I was the only one getting up with him up until 4 months old. Because Joe and I just kind of had this, first of all, Joe has been phenomenal. Like I told him I think he should write a book, how to be a husband to a mother, because he just has been so supportive from day one. But we both were kind of like, it doesn't make sense to have 2 zombies in the house. Joe would like nap half the day if he could. He just loves sleep, and I hate it. I feel like it's a waste of time. So it just made sense that I would get up with Max, especially because I was breastfeeding, and if I missed a feeding, I knew I'd have to pump. So, but at 4 months old, I don't think I even like got a virus or got sick. I was like almost passing out from exhaustion. I remember I got up one night, I had like night sweats, and I was so dizzy, and I thought I would drop Max, and it just scared me. And I ended up, my mom took care of Max like during the day for a couple days, and I just slept, and from that point on though, I kept getting sick. Like I eat pretty well. I wasn't active. I couldn't work out because I was exhausted. But like I only eat well because I'm like in tune with my body almost to a fault. So I just felt like I was taking care of myself to the best of my ability, but I couldn't get past this sickness because I was getting up. Until Max was about 4 months old, I was awake with him maybe every 3 hours or so, and we co-slept for a really good portion of that too, and that worked well for us, really well, until it didn't. Like one day he was just like too long, and my back hurt, and I wanted to turn, and I was scared of squishing him, and Joe sleeps really heavily, and it worked until it didn't. So then that 4-month sleep regression hit. My God, I was getting up every 45 to 90 minutes. I mean, I feel like I tell people that and they like roll their eyes at me and don't believe me. I don't know why a person would lie about that. It's so true. So, and we never really got past that. So 2 hours is probably the biggest chunk of sleep that I would get. And then we all got the flu. Like, we took Max to the ER, and then I got the flu, and I'm supposed to take care of this baby. And so somewhere in there, somewhere right before 5 months, it was like 3 a.m. I was crying, Max was crying, Joe was frustrated, and that was like, Joe and I started snapping at each other, and that was my sign that, like, we needed to do something. We needed to make a change, because Joe and I had worked really well as a team together, and it's just that cursed sleep deprivation that was starting to, like, rip at us. So, oh, my headband. I have to tell you, Jackie, this silly headband that's, like, creating, like, a mark on my, but I didn't shower, so we're just going to keep it. We're going to keep it where it is. So anyway, 5 month mark. I read, and, you know, don't let the daggers come out, but I read about different methods of crying it out, and like the extinction method versus going in every 5 minutes. And it's hard because that is what gave us bedtime, like a real bedtime. That is what we did like a really gentle version of cry it out, where, like, we went in to check on him and we created this routine. But the problem is our sweet baby, I'd say he's so smart because I'm his mother, but when we went in to check on him, it pissed him off more. Like, it made him so much more angry. So what we struggled with is we figured out how to do bedtime. Like, he'd fall asleep within, I don't want to talk about what it took the first couple of nights, but he'd fall asleep within like 10 to 15 minutes when we put him into bed at 6:30. But then I dreaded going to bed because I knew from about 10:30, 11:30 on, I was going to be up every 90 minutes. And I felt like the minute I laid down, I had to get up. And it's like when you're having a great dream and you're so comfortable, and then your alarm goes up, but like every 90 minutes. So it was hard. And I don't know then I got strep. This is the last part of the timeline. I decided that I was going to do the recent reset cleanse that I decided I was going to do because I felt like I wasn't doing anything for myself. And the day before I was going to begin that was Easter. I felt really crappy, and I went to the urgent care and I had strep. Like, who in our age group gets strep? Who isn't working with young children? Like, it's because my immune system was just so low. But I started that reset anyway, and I feel like because I had committed to making meals, it was really because I just grabbed handfuls of snacks all day long. At this point too, Max did not let me set him down at all. So that's all happening. But I think that because I committed to myself in just this one little pocket of my life, I decided that I wasn't going to even prioritize working out at all. It's like that season of my life is put on pause for now. I decided to just make really good, nourishing food for myself. And I just think that really helped. So one night, again, 3 a.m., my magic number, I found this sleep consultant's website. I didn't find it. A bunch of people recommended it to me in one of the mom groups that I'm in. I just asked if anyone had success with the sleep consultant, and all these people recommended her. Her name's Leanne. She's great, by the way. I can even put her information in the comments below if you want. She's also a lactation consultant, so she's wonderful. But I filled out one of her forms to get a free 20-minute consultation because I felt like I'm just starting to get an edge on my own health, and I'm feeling better about the days that I spend with Max, and I'm more present. But if I can't sleep, I'm not being the best mom that I can be. So I think I wanted to just tell you all this. So when you hear that I let my baby cry a little bit, it's not because I'm trying to, it's not because I'm trying to kill him. I'm trying to do the opposite. Like, I'm trying to take much better care of him. So I recently heard about goals, like setting goals. If you ask yourself 4 questions, you can set any goal at any point in time, and it's, where are you now? Where do you want to go? What are you willing to spend? I like to think of that as give. What are you willing to give to get this? And how long do you want it to take to get there? So, when I work with a lot of people who are setting like wellness fitness goals, and if they're right now feeling like they're like 30 pounds overweight and just really sluggish and tired, I say, where do you want to be and why? You know, they want to lose X amount of pounds in X amount of time, but what are you willing to give? What are you willing to spend? You know, are you willing to give up a half hour of watching This Is Us? We have like one episode left. We've been binge watching that. So would you give up an hour of This Is Us to make a solid meal for yourself, or to do some yoga, or to go for a walk? You know, like, are you willing to give that to yourself? Are you willing to pay a little extra money for the food that isn't straight up convenience food? So for me, when I talked to her, I knew this was going to be an expensive venture. And again, if you want to know the price that we paid, I will tell you the price that we paid. But I keep telling Joe that if she would have charged double, I would have figured out a way to pay double, because I was desperate. Like, I felt like I was slowly dying. I was a zombie. I wasn't able to be fully present with Max because I was looking forward to the next nap. And the other thing is, his naps would last 40 minutes. I forgot to tell you that the only way Max gets to sleep during the day is being bounced on a stability ball while being cradled, like not even upright, cradled. So like, I have like the strongest pipes I've ever had, but I can't do like one real push-up because it's only in this position, and I've become so hunched. Like, and for like 10 to 40 minutes. So then nap time would happen. I would have 40 minutes myself, and it's like, do I eat? Do I shower? Do I go to the bathroom? Or do I try to lay down and wake up 20 minutes later? So I was willing to spend almost anything. And how long do I want to take to get there? Like yesterday. I wanted to be there yesterday. So what we did with her, and I think what is really neat, is she created, you know, because we read this, back up, we read a book, read lots of stuff online, boy, do bloggers really hate both sides of like letting your child cry and not letting your child sleep. Like, oh my gosh, it was awful. I was like, Joe, we're the worst. I'm the worst parent ever because I can't commit to one thing. We just wanted somebody to tell us exactly what to do. I think that's the point that we were at, because I was getting mad at Joe because he didn't react to Max's crying like I did, which was like an animal. Like, I felt like somebody is hurting my child, and it must be Joe if he's sticking to the plan that we made together. Like, I had to leave. I had to go just drive around it was just awful. So we asked Leanne to just make a plan for us. We'd do it, and then we would stop getting mad at like sleep, which isn't even a thing, or wondering if we're doing the right thing. I know this is terrible, but internally I thought, momentarily I can blame her if I'm feeling awful. And sometimes I don't know. I think she knows what she's signing up for, that the days that are hard, it's hard. You need sometimes to put your energy in a certain direction. Luckily, I didn't end up feeling that way towards her. But we talked to her. We filled out a form, and then we talked to her for 90 minutes over the phone. And she told us that she often suggests like actually gentler methods than what we ended up doing. But we already knew how our child reacted to certain, to like if we left him in his room alone and we went back to check on him, we knew that he's just very clear in how he feels. And we knew that made him more angry. So what she did is she wrote up a whole plan for us. We had a 90-minute conversation with her. And the plan started with bedtime and how we'd handle bedtime, and then how we'd handle naps the next day. And I thought there's no possible way that this could work, because my child falls asleep with motion. She called them not sleep crutches, but like sleep helpers, something like that, like things that help babies sleep and fall back to sleep. And the reason that he's wasn't able to fall back asleep on his own is because sucking, particularly eating, and he didn't love the bottle in the middle of the night, so I was feeding him. Or the Nook would like calm him down, but he never wanted that in his crib. So like, I thought he needs to be moving or he needs to be sucking, and both of those require an adult to help with that. So there's just no way in hell that this is going to work. As it turns out, she's a miracle worker. I mean, it's just crazy. We're on day like 8, and Max has already gone down for 2 naps today without crying. He babbles, he talks to himself and giggles a little bit, but he's out within like 8 minutes. Not crying. I feel like that's the biggest part. So what we did is we put him to bed at 6:30 or 7, like our regular bedtime. And then she said, do not get him until 7 the next morning. And I thought, no, there's no way that's going to work. I actually went and I slept upstairs because I just felt like there's no way I can hear him cry and not try to claw somebody's eyes out. Poor Joe. Well, I come back downstairs. No, I think I had to get up in the middle of the night to pump, which is also wonderful. But Joe said he only woke up, I think, twice that first night. He cried a little bit, but Max has this like screaming tantrum cry when he's not hurt, by the way. It's like when he's mad at a toy or something or when he's just upset with a situation. So he has that cry, which he didn't have that night. But he also has this moaning thing that he does, or like, and it's hard to tell if he's like just telling a story or I don't know. He's funny. He has such a range. He's such an interesting little person. But he only woke up twice, fell back asleep within, I'll say 20 minutes, like to be really generous, but in a shorter amount of time. And the next morning he was happy. Like he was a happy baby. He was very hungry, but so happy. So we worked with the naps, and we had them timed out, and she recommended having only 2.5 to 3 hours of awake time. Max can only really do 2 hours of awake time, to be honest. He gets moany and he gets interesting. But what has amazed me is in 8 days, and we've had ups and downs, it's been so hard, because there was like a storm. He had his 6-month appointment. I think there's a new tooth coming in up here. So then I'm like, should I be comforting him when there's a storm? Like, is he afraid? I even got like a mesh. His feet kept getting caught in the crib bars. And I was afraid that when he pulled his foot back, he'd like break it, because he has freakishly strong legs, like freakishly strong. So I bought like a mesh pad to go around there. Our pediatrician approved of it. It's okay. We're not suffocating our baby. But then I was like, is he afraid because he can't see out of the slats anymore? Like, is that making him mad? I mean, as you know, as parents, there are just so many variables, and it's impossible to know if this is causing that or not. But 8 days have happened. Last night he slept from 7:30 to 5:30 this morning. I mean, and I didn't have to get up to pump, so I slept 7 hours last night. 7 hours. And up until last week I had not slept more than 2 hours in a row for 2 months, and not more than 4 hours in a row since Max was born. Like, I'm surprised that I can still, and my memory was fading. I mean, like I would lose words. Joe would tell me something I couldn't remember for the life of me. Again, poor Joe. But like, I was literally losing my mind. Like, things were fading out of it, dissolving, and 7 hours of sleep. I mean, it's just so exciting. So I get so frustrated when people were saying, you know, sleeping like a baby, or even trying to, I think it comes from such a good place, but trying to give us advice, because every baby is so different. And it's like, don't you think I've tried all the things? Like, I promise you I've tried all the things. But what I found was, by asking for help and asking for help from someone outside our immediate circle who could just hear, well, first, who is an expert in babies and sleep, and even she's been able to give me some recommendations on breastfeeding and milk supply, and whether or not I'm going to be in pain because it's so full when I wake up, things like that. But asking for help who's an expert and who asks so many questions about our baby. What I didn't like about just reading a book, or what I hate when I hear that people do, like, I don't know, diets based on a book, is that system probably works well. But it's set in such a broad range for it will work well for the average person, right? But if you aren't asked about like your goals, like where do you want to be? Where, like, for us, like what do we want to get out of this sleep experience? or I don't know, when I work with somebody who, like I mentioned, wants to lose weight, like where do you want to go? Why do you want to do this? What are Max's signs that he's tired? Paying attention to those things. Like, if you're not asked about why and your specific situation, I just feel like the success rate for doing something a little bit scary is so much lower. The success rate for doing anything new can be lower because if you're not given this plan to stick to consistently and to tune into your baby or your goals, it's not impossible, but it's just so easy to get hung up on this little hitch. Like, if we were to be doing this on our own and those storms happened, I would have totally retreated, totally. Or if we didn't have this person to check in with, we have these, I think 3 or 4 like 20-minute phone calls that we can do, or email her. If we couldn't check in with her and ask these questions, I would have got mad at Joe again. I would have felt so defeated, and again, I would have retreated. And every time we retreat from this sleep training, I think it's harder for Max because then it's less consistent. Like, he needs consistency. And I'm just because this is where my brain goes, I'm just seeing how similar it is to people wanting like a lifestyle shift, because every time you retreat back from like the plan that you set in place, and you're so excited when you set the plan, but then life happens. Every time you retreat, you feel more and more frustrated. And I think that's what babies go through too, is that like they just need a little bit of like routine and structure, and flexibility. But if we're not, I don't know, if we don't have a unique plan set in place specifically for our little creature, it's hard to stick to. So I guess that was our journey. And I don't judge anybody, by the way, who co-sleeps or who never does sleep training. Like, if you don't ever have to do this, I want to hug you. You're so lucky. Maybe you can give me some of that good luck if we ever do this, another time. But it's just so hard to want to foster independence in your child and to want to comfort them at all times. It's hard to know the effects of, like, I've watched many children who only go to sleep when they're nursed by their mom, but then when I would take care of them, I'm thinking of one particular family, when I would take care of them, I would have to strap the baby on and I would do circles around the house to try to get her to sleep, because wearing a baby is kind of a form of co-sleeping, and then I try to gently set her down. So it's so hard to decide what to do. And I think that as parents, rather than trying to be sleep consultants and like prescribe people certain paths, just to say, like, I get what you're going through and I get how hard it is, and you can get through this. You will get through this. And when we ask each other questions, and when we, relate and tell our own journeys, but then, leave it open and that you do you, I think that is such a powerful, way to be humans together. Because is this not just the hardest thing you've ever done? As we were watching This Is Us last night, I won't tell you what happens in case you haven't seen it yet, but I just started bawling. And I was like, oh my God, Max is going to die one day. Like, I might be long gone, but it was just like, parenting is so heartbreaking. So I don't know. Tell me if you agree that if we can just be kinder to each other and recognize that we're all doing the very best that we can as sleep-deprived people, or as people who have struggled to feed our babies, or just people who have struggled how to figure out how to be like a person and a mom and a wife and a friend. My poor friends. We're doing the best that we can. Oh, Carly, thank you. It's so hard, but so wonderful, but so hard. It's like the biggest paradox, I think, given in this life. So that's where we're at. To all the parents out there who are struggling with sleep or anything else, I think you're doing the best that you can. And just the fact that we can look for ways to move through this with our partners or with our babies or with other parents, I think that just trying our best is enough. So yeah, maybe next time Max will join us. I'll tell you, this headband won't be joining us next time though. All right, well, happy Monday, guys. Talk to you again soon.